Hi everybody, my name is Emma Sparks. I'm Deputy Editor of LonelyPlanet.com and I'd like to welcome you to Lonely Planet's Hangout on Air, where we're going to be talking about travel blogs, what it's like to be a travel blogger, blogging as a skill, and how you can use travel blogs to help inform your travels. I'm a big fan of travel blogs and I help to run Lonely Planet's Pathfinders program, which helps us identify the best bloggers out there. Two of which are joining me today. We have Jodi Ettenberg of LegalNomads.com and John Schellhase of VentureSpain.org. Hi guys.
Hi.
Hello.
Good to be here.
Thanks for being here. Just a note to our viewers, if you've got any questions throughout the Hangout for Jodi and John, you can tweet them to #LPHangout or post them on the Google Plus events page. So to kick off, just a warm-up question. I'd like to know where you are now and where was your last trip. So kick off with John, if that's okay.
Sure. So right now I'm in Segovia, Spain, which is in the center of the country, just about a half-hour ride by train from Madrid. And my last trip was to the northwest of Spain, to Galicia, where I visited friends and got to drive along the coast and see some beautiful scenery, and we also visited Santiago de Compostela, which is the final point on the Camino, the famous Camino. It was great trip.
How long have you been based in Spain now?
Since last August, so 10 months. I moved here. My fiance is Spanish, and so we moved here in anticipation of getting married.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Cool. And what about you, Jodi?
Well, I'm actually in Spain as well, which is a rare feat that we're both in the same place. I was speaking at the Travel Bloggers Exchange Conference over in Lloret de Mar not too long ago, and I'm in Barcelona for the week. I haven't been here since 2001, so it's really lovely to be back. And my life is kind of constantly a trip. I actually don't have a home base, and I haven't since 2008. So wherever I happen to want to eat is usually where I'm based at that time, and right now that's Barcelona at the moment.
Yum. So, obviously talking to you guys straight away, it's obvious that behind every blog there is a unique story. So I'd like you to tell me a bit about your blogs. When did you start blogging and why? And was there a specific travel moment that inspired you to start your blog? We'll go straight to Jodi again.
Sure. So I have always been interested in travel and history, but the desire to sort of make it a long-term commitment wasn't something I thought of at the beginning. What I actually wanted to do was to go to Siberia because I had seen a documentary about the Trans-Siberian trains when I was a kid. And I was working as a lawyer in New York, which is why my site's called Legal Nomads. And then I basically decided, I'm going to save up money. I'll take those trains. Over the years, it became, I'll take those trains and I'll see everything I can possibly see in the world at the same time. And so I started my blog as a personal thing for my mom to see where I was going, to see it through photos instead of bombarding her with emails, and then I had a lot of my clients had asked as well, like, can we follow along? So it was never intended to be a new business. It was supposed to be a one-year sabbatical from the law, and then I was going to return to New York City and start working again. Well, obviously, since you're talking to me from Barcelona, that never happened. But it started with Siberia, and now it's become everywhere, and the site basically grew over the years, and so did the readers, and I've been really thrilled to keep learning from them and sharing with them as I go.
Amazing. What a story.
That's great.
What about you, John?
So Venture Spain started 10 months ago when I moved to Spain, and I had moved from Washington, D.C., where I was working at a think tank, and I moved with my fiancée. And her language, and I wanted to have a place where I could kind of formalize my way of getting to know Spain, and also, for me, always writing about things, trying to explain them to other people is a way of learning itself. Mm-hmm. And so I thought the blog could be an opportunity for me to learn and maybe for other people too, and also a way to capture my experience of getting to know this country. I started this is my second travel blog. I had another one when I was a Peace Corps volunteer in 2008, and that was purely personal and a way of keeping in touch with family and friends, but I really enjoyed that experience and thought I would kind of try to replicate it and maybe like make it a little more public friendly as well this time around.
Awesome. Yeah, I always think about how, whether it's you intend it just for family and friends or whether it is a public thing, that anyone who blogs, when they get to 90 years old, they're going to look back and just have this diary. It's really cool. Yeah. So these stories both sound amazing. Lots of people would absolutely love to do it. So where do you start? If someone sitting at home wants to start a travel blog, how do you go about it? And do you have to be super tech savvy? And like, what tools do you recommend they should start with? We'll go to Jodi.
So I think the first question you've got to ask yourself when you're thinking about it is, what is the goal of starting out the blog? For me, I was on Blogger when I started out. It was meant as a personal site for my family. When it started becoming apparent that there were business opportunities, I received offers to do freelance writing work based on the site. And the site, of course, wasn't monetized in any way. I still don't have ads or any sponsorship, wrapping on it. But it was a personal site, and it was suddenly this idea that maybe that could be a platform for something else. I switched the site from Blogger over to WordPress.org. So I think the technical level that you've got all depends on the goals that you've got for that site. If it's something that you want to just put online as a labor of love for your friends and family, it's very easy to do. You can set it up on WordPress.com. You can set it up on Ghost or on Squarespace. There are different platforms that are easy to get something set up with. Even WordPress.org doesn't require too much technology, and there are great courses online that can teach you. If you want to make it into a more sustainable enterprise, then I think you should probably avail yourself of some of the courses to learn WordPress.org and to understand the different benefits to having such a malleable platform.
Cool. What about John?
So I use Squarespace, which is a totally different platform. I think it's less commonly used among travel bloggers. You have to pay for it straight away if you want to have your own domain name. It's $10 a month, but for me, it's very easy to use. It looks very professional, kind of straight out of the box, and it's just drag and drop. You don't have to be too tech savvy, though. You might need to learn a little bit of coding, just kind of basic things. The other tool I'd recommend for people just to get public domain, high-quality images, Pixabay, which is a great tool I've been using a lot. Makes you can freely, without attribution, use some great professional quality pictures. And to start out, I mean, for me also, I think the important thing is to kind of know there's something you want to communicate via the blog, and you have for friends and family, it's kind of the obvious thing a lot of people start with. But if you want to communicate to a wider audience, to try to think about what people would be interested in learning about wherever you are, and have it kind of to really think through the process of what it means to communicate.
Yeah. So
and just to share. I think that's when I hop on sites and I feel like it's just up there. I just without that thought of the reader experience.
Yeah. So what we're saying is there's tons of tools. All you need to do is Google, and you'll find tons of tools and courses. But you need a purpose at the end of the day. You need something that's driving that. So yeah, that's cool. Blogs can be really fun to keep. You have to be quite organized and things like that. But obviously, they're really valuable to travelers as well, for people who are doing their research. So I was wondering what travel blogs have influenced your trips, and which you would recommend in general. We'll go back to John, if that's okay.
Sure. I have a couple of recommendations for expat blogs in Spain. One is called A Texan in Spain, and the website is just trevorhuxham.com. And that's the author's name. And he lives in Galicia, where I just visited, and I found a lot of his recommendations and things to do, and his experience of the culture to be really useful background. And he's a good writer as well. The other one I read is very frequently is called Oh Hello Spain, and it's another expat, a British expat who lives in Madrid. And Madrid is a city that's very close to where I am, but it's a city I'm still getting to know. And I find lots of little nooks and corners of the city via her website. And again, good writing and nicely designed as well.
Yeah, local sort of niche area, like regional blogs can be really handy.
What I really like about this is they've been here, at least 2 years each of them, and so they know. It's a good way to learn about local customs, fiestas, things that even bits of language that I might not get on my own.
Cool. Just for our viewers at home, any URLs, like websites that have been mentioned in this Hangout, we will put in the description after this Hangout, so you can find everything you need there. Jodi, over to you.
Thank you. So I think everyone looks for different things in blogs, and for me, I write in long form, usually 5,000 to 10,000 words a pop, and so I write less frequently, but I try and dig a bit under the surface of where I am when I do so. So often those are the sites I'm looking for that inspire me to be a better writer, that are looking at the foods that we eat and the stories behind them, since both food and stories are so universal. And I love Roads and Kingdoms, which is a website co-founded by Matt Golding and Nate Thornborough, and it's a wonderful deep dive into food, anthropology, culture, history, and politics. It's sometimes with edgy stories, sometimes slideshows. All of it is really smartly done and always a pleasure to read. Two other food sites that I enjoy and are newer is Behind the Food Carts. They tend to follow food carts and the stories behind them, and they also go and travel around the world and seek out foods and markets. So I don't, unlike John, which everyone is looking for something different, I don't want blogs to be my here's what to eat and here's where you should go, or snapshots locally, because I don't have a home base for me. I want to be looking at where are the places where the stories called out so much that someone needed to share this, and I want to learn from them. And so Behind the Food Carts and another site called Funology. It's a couple, and they are fairly new as well. I saw the site, I loved it, and it turned out the sister of one of the women in the couple, it's a man and a woman. I actually hung out with her in Beijing the year I started my trip in 2008, which I didn't know, and it was a nice small world realization. But both of those sites are really inspiring. And then the last one that I would talk about, sorry, all three of those sites are very inspiring. The last one that I would mention is Uncornered Market. I'm biased because Dan and Audrey are really good friends, and we met early in the travel blogging process. But they are not only great people, but put a lot of passion and a lot of effort into talking about responsible tourism. They also love to eat. We've shared many a meal. And I think they're a great example of sticking to your principles, continuing with maintaining integrity on your site over the course of many years, and really believing in what you do.
Yeah, you're not biased. They're brilliant.
Yeah, no one's disputed me whenever I say this. Oh, do you get it, Audrey? They're amazing.
Yeah. Cool, thank you guys. Some really good recommendations there. So I'll be checking them out. I did check out Behind the Food Carts as well. My mouth was watering earlier. So.
Yeah, they're great.
A different kind of question now. So, everyone knows we're all stuck to our technology these days. You cannot go anywhere, especially, to the tourist hotspots, without being sort of just in front of a load of selfie sticks and iPads and phones and cameras, and for bloggers especially, they kind of have to document what they're seeing in front of them, and everyone feels this impulse to share on social media and record every moment. It's something we struggle with. I struggle with personally, but I think bloggers, it affects them quite a lot. Travel bloggers in particular, because when you're traveling, you're kind of thinking about your blog. So I'd like to know how you balance work and play, and do you ever really switch off? Do you like try to have digital detoxes? How do you balance that? And I'll start with Jodi, please.
So I think first of all, the idea of thinking about writing while you're seeing things, that I would be doing regardless of whether I had a blog. You know, I said at some point I would be writing if no one was reading. I got grounded as a kid for writing under the covers with a flashlight and a pencil. You know, it's something I've always needed to do, and it's a real honor that people seem to have read my words and it resonated, and I've, you know, created this community around the writing, but I would still be doing it. So I think the way you process imagery and what you're seeing and how you do it, for me it's always been in words, and it's actually just really awesome to have an outlet for that turned into a career. It kills a few birds with one stone while doing all this hard work. The other side to it, as you said, is the detox aspect, and I think building a business, and my goal was to have a business that was sustainable, one that if I stopped traveling, which I don't have plans to do right now, would continue to have legs, you know, to build a really thriving community and a business that would last. You know, that takes a lot of work, and it's not like you have a specific assignment. It's up to you to set those delineations. So, you know, in the last few years, I've tried to schedule it so that I do have times that are offline. I took a boat from Vancouver to Tokyo last year in the fall, and you know, there is no internet. You are in the middle of the ocean, so that was an excellent detox. I did a Vipassana meditation earlier this year as well, where there was no internet. You know, I think it's important to almost reset in that way, and I know that there are different ways of doing it. I've found personally I have a really hard time with just saying, okay, I'm going to turn off my phone today and just like hang out and enjoy the town. Those kind of really hardcore, you know, 15-day detoxes are the ones that seem to work best for me.
Fair enough. Thanks. What about John?
Yeah, this is a challenge I have because there'll be times when I'm visiting a new place in Spain to get to know either future in-laws or old friends of my fiance, and I really want to write about this place or to learn about it as a tourist, but I'm there with friends and with family, and it's more important to be in those moments with the people instead of trying to see the sites that they're very familiar with and are not as interesting to run off and take pictures of. And so that is I think that is a challenge. And so for me, when I've, you know, what has worked for me is to from the beginning, just get a few of the basic things I need, a picture or two, and then to keep a notepad in my pocket as we're walking and talking, and I stop every now and then and take a few notes. But I try to get kind of my work side done early and then be in the moment for, because if I don't do it first, I'm always thinking, oh, I should run around and, you know, take a couple pictures of the cathedral. And so I just, for me, it's important to get it done, do that first, and then focus on the conversations. And I can't, if I have to say, I can't do the digital detox. I've tried to do one day off a week without screens and things like that. It never seems to work. I always pull up an email. But I do try every now and then.
Fair enough. If it's not for you, it's not for you.
No, it just hasn't. So far, it hasn't fallen into place. Yeah.
So as we've kind of touched on with this, you know, blogging isn't a 9-to-5 thing. You don't necessarily take breaks. You can just manage your time and manage the way you do things. But let's address a common thread of thought. Travel blogging is not a holiday. As with all travel writing, there's a lot more work than a lot of people think involved. So, yeah, I guess just a broad question I'd like to ask you. People who are thinking, who are considering going into blogging as a career, you know, and they understand the challenges, what are your tips? You know, if you had one tip for really making it a success, you know, what do they need to know? And I'd go to Jodi for that one first.
So I'm going to quote someone from TBEX this weekend who said, if you're looking to make a lot of money, and then he paused, he said, don't go into travel blogging. Don't go into blogging. Travel blogging specifically. I think, you know, fashion, food, there are definitely blogging niches that certainly make a lot more money in general than what's been charismatically available within this silo of blogging. I think the one tip that I would put out is legitimately the one that I heard time and time again this weekend, and in general, when I speak to the bloggers who've been doing it for quite some time, it's that everything you should be thinking about involves the community you're building, which is your readers and your audience. The opportunities that come your way. What's more important than some quick cash is, does this benefit my readers in some way? And someone had asked me, I take free tours because I have to travel somehow. I have to make ends meet, and I respect that. We all have to make ends meet. But if you're looking to build travel blogging as your business, then you have to think about whether that benefits your readers. I would argue it normally doesn't. They can find information about a tour somewhere else. What is it that's unique that you could offer as a human, that your skills that you've brought onto this particular place where you are right now, and how does that overlap with what your readers are asking of you? I think as people start their blogs and they build them into businesses, the ones that have become successful are often the ones that leverage what they're doing beyond the blog itself. They listen to what the readers are really telling them. It's my readers that said to me, "Can you please feed us when we come to Saigon?" And so I decided to have small walks involving lots of food because they asked for it. It's them that said, "Is there a way to get this on a poster instead of just blah blah blah?" It's looking to your community to listen to what your next steps might be, but in turn that always means focusing on that community first and foremost, while obviously striving to give them the best content possible.
Brilliant, good advice, thank you. John, do you have anything to add to that, or are you?
I think that's great advice. I'm not building a business with my website. I would say that the way I've used it for professionally has been as a platform to showcase that I can write and to find other paying work in other venues. And so I don't have any additional advice on that.
That was my next question. So there are lots of people who are not everybody is able or indeed willing to leave their home lives and travel permanently. But they still wish to document their experiences, and blogging can be, I think anyway, great for your CV, and it can offer other opportunities. So yeah, I was just wondering what your thoughts were on that and how blogging can enrich your life in other ways. We'll go to John.
Well, for me, I mentioned this earlier, but I would maybe expound on it a little bit. Or process of learning about a new place, and that can be many new places, as Jodi's blog has been. It's an incredible document that she's put together of the whole world, nearly. Or it can be one specific place. For me, it's my first blog was about the Philippines, and my blog now is about Spain and my experience of this country. I also write about things besides travel. My background is in development economics, and so I write about the Spanish economic crisis quite a lot. And as someone who's arriving here from a different place, who doesn't know the politics or the culture perfectly, is getting to know it. Using the blog has been a great way for me to kind of have a conversation that doesn't just involve myself, but is a way to get feedback, to float ideas, and to really dive into the learning process about this place. And that's for me, that's been very valuable.
It all gives you extra context, I suppose, when you're writing about other things. Just you're going to get to know Spain inside out the longer you stay here, and that can only be a good thing. Jodi, do you have anything to add to that?
Sure. I would just say that, to John's point, you shouldn't be hiding the things that you're passionate about in life. I think, I love astronomy and technology. When I joined Twitter, I started tweeting about those things, and people were like, "But you're a travel writer." And I said, "Yeah, but I'm not a one-trick pony. We all have different interests in our lives, and what's important and exciting about technology is that it allows us to be multidimensional online. We often talk about how brands are trying to be as personable as possible in their feeds. as bloggers, we have the ability to be people because we are people, and whether it's as a hobby or done professionally, it's an incredible platform to connect with others using just the blog or social media in addition to it, and kind of slide in sideways into a universe you wouldn't have had access to so easily many years ago, you know, through Twitter, through my blog, through people leaving comments saying, if you're going here, I know this person, they love food too. Really, blogging is just an excuse to learn as much as possible if you want to use it that way, and I think that is the biggest advantage it has. By putting out the things that you're passionate about or you're interested in, and working hard on them, you have this audience that resonates with that and that enjoys to share with you other things that may teach you more.
Thank you. So, well, I was just coming to, you've kind of hit the nail on the head a little bit. A question from our Google Plus audience. On Google Plus, they have asked, this is Amanda Chappell and also Amy French have touched on, they've got blogs and they want to know how to grow your readership, you know, how grow your audience and gain readers. Obviously, social media you touched on just then, you know, and sharing your passions is a good way to start. Do you have any other tips where, you know, if you're at ground zero, you know, just starting out, where do you go to find your readers?
Well, I know you didn't, I'm just jumping in, sorry.
Yeah,
I'm hijacking the question. I would say that this is something we heard a lot. I hear a lot at blogging conferences in general. You know, there is certain patience that's also required. I've been doing this for 7 years. A lot of the successful bloggers that I've spoken to in this industry, 5 years, they each of them started pulling in income around year 3, 4, 5. There takes a consistency and there takes time to build up an audience. It doesn't happen overnight. A lot of people do want an answer that's like, please add water, then you have an audience. But unfortunately, the reality is it's both continuously putting out good content and availing yourself of the incredible amount of resources online to learn, you know, how to become a better writer, to join forums for people who have advice where you can offer stuff as well. But it does take time, and I think if your focus is on creating really good content that, as John already said, you know, offers something of value, because you as a human have a viewpoint that other people might not have, that you offer that of value to your community and you continuously put that forward. You know, the resources that are out there that exist are great, but they are useless if you don't have people reading, and it takes time to gather an audience that pay attention. It takes one person with a huge audience to vomit your post out there into the ether, and then suddenly you've got a whole exponential number. But getting that one person to pay attention, that too takes time.
Yeah, agreed. What about you, John? Any other tips?
My tip is to connect with people who are already doing it. But not people, you know, not try to reach out to huge people with huge sways or huge audience, but the people who are a little farther along on the road than you, and maybe see if there's ways you can collaborate with them, or at least share what they're doing, be excited about what they're doing, and then that's often reciprocated. At least in the little microcosm of the blogosphere I belong to, that's been the case.
No, I find, yeah, the travel blogging community is huge, and everyone seems to be quite willing to chat. So, yeah, you have no problems there if you're starting out. Thank you for that, and I hope that answers your question, Amanda and Amy. Jodi, you mentioned community, the importance of community. So, you know, just like Lonely Planet, the best bloggers do put their community at the heart of everything they do. I'm wondering if you've got any stories, I'm sure you do, about any good interactions you've had with a reader. Have you met up with them on the road? You know, have they emailed you to tell you, you know, how much you inspired them and they went somewhere because of you? Any feel-good stories I'd like to hear. Can I go to John first, please?
I've met a couple of my readers, people who I interact with on Twitter, who I heard they were coming through Spain, and we've met up. I met up with a now friend in Galicia when I was up there, and then I also went and got churros con chocolate with a reader in Madrid, and it was, you know, it wasn't anything more than that. We just met, talked, and now when I see Spencer on Twitter, I know who he is and what his story is, and it's only happened a couple of times, but it's been always really fun to take those online conversations into the real world. It makes them a lot richer.
Yeah, it's really, really cool, exciting. Jodi, what about you?
Yeah, I think my readers, I tend to be sort of rabid about the things I love and don't love, and they reward me with silliness in response, or funny things. I always talk about how I eat soup for a living. My readers send me photos of all the soups they eat. I have like a folder in Gmail that's just called Reader Soups, and sometimes the emails are just like, I ate this, and it's an email, and sometimes there's like some waxing of poetry about this soup, but they always do that. Conversely, I get crapped on by birds a lot, 14 birds since 2008, which is a real problem. Now people tag me on Facebook or tweet at me whenever they also get crapped on by a bird. It goes both ways.
Some would say you're the luckiest girl in the world.
I know that. I don't know. It feels like a vendetta at this point. I have a small head too, Emma. I don't know why they're suing me from far. I think ultimately, the best part has been the reader meetups. I started them a few years ago in Chicago, and I try to hold them wherever I go. This year, I haven't been able to do as many because I've been on the move so much. But they're great, and they often result in people meeting who would never have a chance to have necessarily met in a big city. Some of them start dating each other, which is, I feel like I'm a matchmaker as well. This is excellent. But it's such a great opportunity to come in to meet them, and then they connect on Facebook and meet each other and hang out and send me photos when they hang out later. And it's just a wonderful thing to be able to then come a year later and see them again and create a lasting relationship that's built not just on like eating together, but on advice and on hearing their stories too. So I think it's wonderful.
I think that's what it's all about, really, isn't it? Having those loyal readers. Cool. We're coming to the end now. I've just got a couple of quick fire questions. Well, they might not be so quick fire. I want to know what you think the travel blog of the future will look like. Jodi, let's go to you.
Thanks. I think that a lot of blogs are either video blogs or photography blogs or written word blogs. It would be interesting to see sites that build quality based around all of those together. I think Roads and Kingdoms, honestly, is one of them where they have hired photographers and videographers to help fill in multimedia. There's no question that visual is really important, but when you're talking about storytelling, you can't also forget about words. So the combination of all of those, I think, are great. And I would hope it has to do with focusing on those stories in a lasting and meaningful way, and not on sort of sound bites instead.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think blogs, anyway, if you look at blogs from 5 years ago to now, they're getting a lot more sophisticated design-wise, and I think in the future it will be more immersive, kind of all that, the multimedia, dynamic video footage, everything, and things like New York Times, websites like that are already doing that kind of stuff, and I think blogs will be doing it soon, or a lot more blogs will be doing it soon too. John, what do you think?
My thoughts are very similar. I think this kind of combination of skill sets in video and photography with really great writing, I think that's what will draw people to keep coming back. And I would just echo with what both of you have already just said, actually.
The real question is, who's going to be the first person to blog from space? First travel blogger to blog from space. We'll see. And where's your next trip, John? Where are you? Are you going anywhere else in Spain, or are you venturing further at all?
Well, I'm planning to do a weekend in Burgos and Leon, which are in Castilla y Leon, here in the region I live in, but I haven't been to those places yet. And I think sometime this month I'll take the train up and explore. And then the big trip I have planned for the summer is my honeymoon, and we're doing the Trans-Siberian Railway. So I can't wait. Yeah, I can't wait. It's been a lifelong ambition.
Get some tips from Jodi.
Yeah, absolutely.
I approve.
Where are you off to, Jodi? What do you know?
Yeah, I do. I always joke that my movements are planned around conferences and weddings, and then in between it's just where I want to eat. So true to form, I'm heading to Madeira for about a month and a half. As I said in our pre-call, I wanted somewhere to write. I'm writing my second book, and I wanted to go somewhere quiet that I wouldn't be tempted to explore as much, but to do long walks and be by the sea, so that was a perfect place. And then I'm heading back to North America for the summer for a cousin's wedding, and then we'll be in the North American region till the end of the summer, which is generally where I spend my summer months.
Sounds good. Sounds very exciting. Well, I hope you enjoy those trips, and I hope you have a great wedding and honeymoon, John. And
Thanks so much.
you.
It's so nice.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Viewers at home, don't forget to visit their sites. So we've got legalnomads.com, that's Jodi's, and venture-spain.org to see what John's up to. And you can also visit lonelyplanet.com/pathfinders to find out more about how you can work with Lonely Planet as a travel blogger. Yeah, that's all we've got. So thanks very much, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks so much. Take care.